Carissa, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Carissa, I'm living the dream. What are you doing?
Basically the same.
All right. That's good. What can I do?
I wanted to reach out. Initially, it was a question, but I believe I was able to course correct it on my own. But essentially, I found myself in a very unique situation with a new boss of mine. I do work for a large company, and within the 15 months that I was there, I had several different bosses. The retention was very low. So this new member of leadership came in, ruled like a tyrant, made not just myself, but my team very uneasy. But there were some major situations that happened that left me feeling very anxiety-ridden. I felt like it was spiraling into not just my work life, but my personal life as well. So essentially, the main thing that made me decide to leave the company was when a man started having a heart attack on the floor, and I went in to perform CPR. And this was just a standard training that I received about a year ago, just in case of emergency. I know how to perform CPR as we wait for the ambulance to arrive.
Right.
So as I'm performing CPR, I'm rotating out compressions with two other men. And as I get up from performing my compressions, this member of leadership comes up and says, Carissa, when are you going to be done? I need you to get back to the floor. A member of leadership is not on the floor. I need you to get back onto the floor. And I remember looking over and being shocked. I was like, am I hearing this correctly?
Yeah, I'm curious. How did other people who were in that situation with you in earshot, how'd they react? What was their reaction?
Everyone was in panic mode. Everything happened so quickly. I do recall that there was somebody on the line calling 911 to get the ambulance. There were other people that were kind of standing around watching everything play out. So I don't know if anybody heard her initially say it, but I remember turning to her and saying, hey, I'm performing CPR. I'm not going anywhere. This person walks away, comes back maybe 30 seconds later and says the same thing, still tries to pull me from the floor to get back to work. And at that point, the other guy that was helping me rotate out compressions heard, and he told her, no, she's not going anywhere. She's part of my CPR team. We're not going anywhere until the ambulance gets here. So they were able to walk away, but it was such a traumatizing experience, not just the CPR portion. I do feel like if it was just that, I would have been able to go back to work that same day and even the next day. Yeah. But that approach in a literal life or death situation, being asked to get back to work, just blew my mind.
I got to tell you, I'm stunned.
Yes.
I mean, we got a person whose life, we have a person's life that is hanging in the balance. And you are a part of a rotating team to help it. And it's like the fact that the first question wasn't, what's going on? How can I help? Why couldn't she go on the floor and take your place?
Exactly.
What was she doing? What was she doing in this important moment? It's a stunning lack of awareness. It's stunning to me.
Yeah. And I think that
I wouldn't want to work for that person either. It rocked you to your core because you're like, what kind of a human being are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It gets
so have
worse
you left?
From there.
have you left, or are you still working there?
I left. So I stayed maybe 2 weeks after that. That was the pivotal moment where I decided I'm going to take my job search seriously. There's going to be no more just applying for random places and being super picky with the next role, which to a sense, I still was. When I accepted the current offer that I received, I definitely vetted them and made sure that I went through the process because I didn't want to end up in another situation similar to this. But when that happened, I made the decision that I am applying everywhere, anywhere. Like, I'm going to network. I'm going to do what I need to do to remove myself from this situation, because all trust and respect, the little bit that was there, was lost in that moment.
Of course. So how can I help you? Is there a question, or you just feel like you need to get this off your chest?
I actually was hoping that I could use this opportunity to potentially help listeners that might be hopefully not in a similar situation, because that was very outlandish. But there were some tools that I used that helped me find a different career path.
Which were?
Also, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that model?
Of course.
Yes. So that's something that I referred back to pretty heavily, because I had to look deep inside and ask myself, like, how am I feeling and how am I going to get myself out of this situation? And the only way you could do that is when you have that self-realization.
Right.
So when I referred back to that model, I was like, wow, I feel like my basic needs are, one, not being met, but almost being threatened in this environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So for people that aren't familiar, there's 5 layers to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they're broken down into subcategories. So the bottom 2 is the physiological needs, which is food, water, warmth, and rest.
Sure.
Safety needs, which is security and safety, which is roof over your head. You have steady flow of income.
Carissa, I love your passion, but I don't have time for you to teach on the call, because we're going to run out of time in about 30 seconds. Okay. I love your passion. The fact is you went out and you realized, hey, I can't do this anymore, because all trust had been broken. And I think the encouragement that I want the audience to hear from your situation is, when something horrific happens like that on a human level and all respect is lost, that's really what happened. There probably were several other things, but in that moment, whatever modicum of respect you still had for that leader was completely severed, because you're like, I'm trying to save the life of a coworker, and all you care about is, am I going to get back to work? And what you have to understand is, and Carissa understood it, and the rest of you have to understand, there's no recovering that. That right there is so severe of a break of trust, you got to move on.